What's up, math scholars? It's our last video of the year. We're videoing the last half of the study guide. So just a reminder, for your exam, you can use one page of paper, front and back, in your own handwriting. Also, check your calculators. Make sure you're in degree mode. It will make a difference on a few of the problems we'll be getting to today. All right, number 14 is first. We are going to be looking for a common denominator for the x plus 3 and the x minus 3. So we make what's called an LCM list. If you remember back when we did this. Alright, so here goes with the check mark, who's on my list. So if I check mark my x plus 3, I'm going to put him on my list. And if I check mark my x minus 3, he's going to go on my list. So what I have just determined is x plus 3 times x minus 3 is the common denominator I'll be using for both my fractions. Okay? So I'll kind of set it up like this. Alright, so if my original fraction looks like this and my new denominator looks like this, I kind of have to add to it a little bit. I have to add an x minus 3 to it. And you put that x minus 3 on top and bottom. Now that 2 will distribute it into the numerator, making it a 2x minus 6. That's a minus 3. My board didn't write it that well. I'm sorry about that right there. X minus 3. Now the second fraction, if my old denominator was x minus 3 and my new denominator's x plus 3, x minus 3, x plus 3 added to it. And my 5 can distribute it. Pretty much, yep, because you need your denominator to look like this, so you need the opposite added in. Okay, and at that point, you're ready to add your numerators together. 5x and 2x can combine for 7x, and 15 and negative 6 can combine for 9. And then we have x plus 3x minus 3. That they actually did FOIL out in their final solution. The final solution ended up being b, and they've got that denominator FOILed out. Alright, on this you can also do it by finding common denominators, or, as my last class pointed out, you could solve it using plug and chug method. So I think they said let's try 2 first, so we put a 2 in the top. We put a 2 in for p. Everywhere we saw p, we're putting a 2 in. And I think this one ends up being it, because the first fraction is 2 over negative 1 plus 3 equals 1. That'd be negative 2 plus 3 equals 1, and it obviously works. So that's the one that works. I can already see that Spencer probably wants me to work it out, probably the longhand way. Is that true? Do you want me to work this out the longhand way, or is plug and chug method okay for you? Okay, then plug and chug is okay for you. If you do want to work it out the long way, it would involve using a common denominator and adding your fractions up, or maybe even clearing the denominators. I would consider clearing the denominators to do it. Find the first 4 terms of the sequence is a piece of cake. You'll find term 1 by putting a 1 in for n. It looks like term 1 will be 1 times 6 is 6. You'll find term 2 by putting a 2 in for n. And by the time we find term 2, having trouble talking, by the time we find term 2, we'll be able to select the answer. This ends up being 2 times 10, that's 20. There's only one choice that goes from 6 to 20. Oh no! Oh crap, we do need to find term 3. Now I'm nervous I messed this up last period. Let's find term 3. 3 times 4 times 3 plus 2 would be 3 times 14. What is 3 times 14? 42? Yeah, 42. It's okay. So this is a summation problem where you find the sum of the first 4 terms. Sum of first 4 terms. My suggestion is just use that summation button on the calculator. So let me write down the keystrokes for you. It will be math, up, up, up. I have 3 ups. Normally it depends on what calculator version you have, how many ups you need to get to the button. But basically it gives you this. It gives you a bunch of squares to put things in. you have to use x's instead of j's. So I put in my bottom box x equals 1. In my top boxes, I put a 4. And then this part was a little bit tricky. To get that exponent and the 1/5 all in the parentheses, I turned the 1/5 into a decimal. So I did 0.2 to the x. That's how I typed it in. So x equals 1 to 4 of 0.2 to the x. That ended up giving me 0.2496. Does everybody remember how to refraction a decimal? Math enter, enter, and refraction at decimal for you. So that gives me 156 over 625. Alright, we're on 18. You're depositing $40 each month into a credit union savings club account. You're getting 8% interest. They actually already calculated that for us. 1.008 is the growth factor there. The balance at the beginning of the nth month can be given by this recursive formula. Find the balance at the end of the 5th month. Okay, so we can do this all in the calculator. Do these keystrokes with me. Hit 40, enter. 40, enter. That will get it going in your calculator. 40, enter. Then, you're going to want to type 40 plus 1.008 times the answer key. And to get the answer key, it's second negative button. So 40 enter would be at the beginning of month 1. After you click enter for the first time here, you'll get the beginning of the 2nd month. So that's 80.23. You just click enter a few more times. Click enter again, that'll be the 3rd month. I'll just jot it down so you can see it on the video if you're watching the video. That's 120.96. Click enter again, that'll be the 4th month. 161.93. And hit enter again, and that'll be the 5th month. 203.23. Make sure you're utilizing the answer key. If you're not using the answer key, it's not going to change the previous month along as you go. Alright, this one's not bad at all. They give us the sequence, -10, 40, -160. So there's 2 things you have to identify. What is term 1? And then what is the constant multiplier? We would call that the R value. What are they multiplying by as they go from left to right? Multiplying by 4. So which one has the correct first term and the correct constant multiplier? Yep. That's easy. Alright, looks like we have a right triangle here. Anytime you have a right triangle, your options are SOHCAHTOA. Sine, cosine, or tangent, traditional use. I can give you a study guide, Spencer. Alright, so we're going to go off of this angle 41 to figure out what sides we're working with. The 21 is definitely our hypotenuse, without a doubt. But what about x? Is it opposite the 41 or adjacent to the 41? Opposite. So what are we going with? Sine. Sine of 41 degrees equals opposite over hypotenuse. There's your setup. And now it looks like we're going to move the 21 to the other side by multiplying by 21. This is the first problem where your mode definitely makes a difference. You need to be, in degree mode, 21 times sine 41. 13.78. 13.78b. Alright, we're on 21. They give us all this information about A, B, and C. So I'm going to sketch out my triangle. Triangle ABC. It says that angle A is 46 degrees. It says that small b is 35. So just a refresher, small b lives across from big B. Now, do we know angle big B? Unfortunately not. So we don't have a complete partnership here. And then small c lives over here, 47. So I always ask myself on these, since it's not a right triangle, we can't use sine, cosine, tangent. I ask myself, do I have a complete set of partners? Could I use the law of sines? Nope. So we are stuck with law of cosines. Let me jot down the law of cosines for you guys. law of cosines is the version I want for this problem. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine A. You might be wondering, how did I know to use that version? Well, angle big A is the only angle we have to use. So we had to use the one with the small a star. All right, here goes nothing. Putting all of our numbers in. We're going to be solving for little a first, so we don't really know it. But we know little b is 35. We know little c is 47. And then we know that cosine big A, cosine 46. So that's a really long formula, but the good news is these are the easy problems where you can just type in all this stuff at one time. And then whatever that number is, finish it with the square root. Well, again, we have to be in degree mode. If your calculator's at home on your desk right now, check that you're in degree mode before tomorrow. One 148.57, and don't forget to end it with the square root. Oh no, I'll check that you're in the right mode.
Oh, I don't have it.
Oh, okay. So that gives us little a is 33.89. Now, if you go look at the choices, unfortunately for us, there are two that have little a as 33.89, A and C. So that just means we have to continue on our solving. What? But hey, good news, we have complete partners now, don't we? Since we have complete partners, we can finish it off with law of sines. Sine 46 goes with 33.89. Let's just solve for b next. Sine of big B goes with 35. Do you remember crisscross applesauce? Does that mean anything to you? You cross multiply, so 35 times the sine 46, and then you divide it by the 33.89. Now, that gives you a weird decimal, because that's what sine b equals. We still have to do a sine inverse on both sides. So in the calculator, it's second sine, second answer. It's called sine inverse. Second sine, second answer. 47.97 degrees, or 47.98 if I round correctly. That should be enough to select the right answer. C. Yeah. So just a reminder, I do have a little, tidbit on this one. If you're going to convert from radians to degrees, you're going to multiply by 180 over pi. So what's cool about this is then the pi's cancel out. That's exactly what's going to happen here. My pi's are going to cancel out. So I can just head to my calculator, type in 3 over 20 times 180. 27 degrees.
What if you were converting degrees to radians?
Then you would multiply by pi over 180. Do the reverse. Yep. Good question. Alright, this one's not bad, but we are going to review how sine and cosine work and what A and B helps stand for. This is for cosine and sine only, not tangent problems. So in cosine and sine problems, the A out front stands for the amplitude, how high those mountain peaks and valleys get. And then the B just kind of helps you find the period. The period is 2 pi over B. So it's not like B is the period, but B will help you find the period if you use the formula 2 pi over B. That's your cloud of knowledge for this problem. Right, we literally did this in chapter 10, the very most recent chapter. So, The amplitude is 1/6. That's easier. Put that 1/6 in gray. But the period is tricky. The period they're telling us is pi over b. Or sorry, pi over 3. But the period formula is 2 pi over b. So we have a slight mystery we need to solve for b. We need to figure out what b is. So I just kind of looked at it. To get from pi to 2 pi, what do? Multiply by 2. So to get from 3 to b, we're going to have to multiply by 2. So that just kind of helps us figure out that b has to be 6. So we want something with an a value of 1/6 and a b value of 6. Do you see it? Which one has an a value of 1/6 and a b value of 6?
You need parentheses around B.
No parentheses around b.
So the X connects to the...
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. If I was typing this in the calculator, the graphic, for example, yeah, the calculator would put the parentheses there. Okay. I had a silly question. I know there's no such thing as a silly question, but a student said, "Why would you take a sweater on vacation?" I'm like, "Duh, your ski trip, Ireland, Alaska." Okay, so you own 9 sweaters. We're gonna take 3 on vacation. This is called 9 choose 3. That's when we did this. And we're going to have to refresh on how to get that button in the calculator. You have to actually hit the 9 first before you go fetch the button. And then you have to do button fetching. You hit math, and then you want to get yourself into the PRB menu, so I hit left button to get there. And then it's choice 3 for NCR. So it'll appear like this. 9 NCR 3. That's how it'll appear on the calculator screen. So 9, get the NCR button, 3, and that's at 84. Last one, math scholars. Ready? Alright, so on this one we will need the z-score formula, because it's been a while since we've done z-score and probability and stuff. So I have the formula written down here. The z-score formula is x minus x bar over sigma. So I'll refresh what all these numbers mean. Sigma is standard deviation. X bar is the average or the mean. And then x would just be your data point for whatever you're trying to figure out a z-score for. In this scenario, let's read it. The class average on a math test was 87. That's x bar. The standard deviation was 6.6. That's sigma. And find the z-score for a test score of 97. That's going to be your data point. So let's go ahead and put everybody in the equation. So putting 97 in as the data point. The average on the test was the 87. And the standard deviation was 6.6. So when you go to your calculator, and when you subtract those numbers, click enter before you divide. So 97 minus 87, enter, to divide by 6.6. Alright. Well, thanks for watching our last video. I did have a request for a funny video, and that is I should read like the top 5 or top 10 funniest memories from the school year. So I'll think about doing that. I think that would be hilarious. So, alright, if I don't see ya, have an awesome summer! Bye-bye.